big shout out to you for making it through the hectic holiday season. This new year, get clean, quality, pregnancy nutrient support off your to-do list, including Ritual's best-selling Essential Prenatal Multivitamin, designed with 12 traceable key ingredients to support a healthy pregnancy. With big changes coming up, take the small steps now and start today with 30% off a 3-month supply at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Radio. Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. It is the 8th, holy damn, it's the 8th of November 2017. Thank you for joining us right here on YouTube, Facebook, at shrmedia.com, as well as Spreaker. If you get a chance to follow us, like us, both on YouTube, Facebook.
I like us.
Twitter. You do like us, BZ. Of course, sitting off to the right is our good friend BZ. Second.
Sitting off to my right is
a big fat nobody.
How does that happen?
He will be calling in, so he says, and we will be waiting to see if he, in fact, does call in.
We'll be waiting with bated breath. I'm going with herring. Are you going with mackerel?
Yeah, that's a good bait fish to go with.
All right, that's what I'm thinking.
Sackhead Clint is not in studio. As I said, we will await patiently or impatiently his call. BZ, how are you, sir?
I am doing great. By the way, it happens every year, but very seldom is it ever captured on camera. You know, people don't think about it. The UK, when we go to daylight savings time, the UK is particularly affected, and I've captured this, and they do their very level best to make sure that the photos of this happening never gets out. But, it's spring ahead, fall back, and we've already gone through daylight savings time. Now it's just regular time. But in the UK, that presents a particular problem because what they have to do is hook up vehicles to Stonehenge and pull the rocks back 1 hour. So I have that on the Bloviating Zeppelins Facebook page.
I did see that.
The photo did get out.
I appreciated it very much indeed.
And you don't realize how that's very damn difficult.
I can't even imagine.
But they do it. And they have to do it every year. I don't know why they still go with that stupid daylight savings time. That seems really stupid to me.
It's a lot to go into it.
I know. Look at the chat room. It's brimming with buttery people. It's Jersey Joe, Gulf Dogs, Dave, Milner, Nicholas, Grimwitch, Grimson, I can't read the rest because the name is covered.
The Grim Reaper.
Grim Reaper, Mary Brockman, Mike, Dave, right here in chat. See?
Starting to get in there.
What a great.
I like it.
What a great group.
I do.
Folks.
I'm liking it so far.
This is.
And if you want to join in the chat, it is shrmedia.com. Click on live shows. The chat room does pop up right there. I'm just saying, it does. It's the one thing I know for 100% certainty is that it fucking shows up right there.
I do too.
Hi, vey. So much to talk about this week.
Hi, vey, the people.
I'll tell you what, BZ. It's been
another newsless week.
Yeah. Naturally.
Oh, crap. Where's my Diet Pepsi? All right. I'm going to have to wait to the break. Damn it.
What happened?
I know I can't not have it.
Oh my God! Do you want to restart the show in a minute?
No. Let's
Hold on,
just-
BZ did
let's
not
just-
get his Diet Pepsi, and we all know what that means if you've ever listened to his show or our show.
The best
We have to
late
start
night
everything over
conservative
again.
talk show
This is
in
just
America.
we can't have
That
this.
is radio.
Okay, be right
And
back.
Listen, there are no people better on the air.
I'm not really stopping the show for him. Oh, there is a lot going on today. Oh God, Trump over in Asia. It's a big deal. The Virginia elections are a big deal as well. We're also gonna we got to talk about obviously the shooting in Texas. Well, some more information on that. Boy, North Korea, Russia. Oh yeah, you know that new book by Donna Brazil where she's absolutely lambasting everybody with a D next to their name or that rhymes with the word Blinton. Absolutely destroying the Clintons so far. I can't help but tell you how much I love to see that. Yeah, that sounded magical in the air. I'm not gonna lie.
Did you actually hear that?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So, BZ, because
Oh, all is better. All is better. Thank you.
before we get into all that, though, I want to explain why the last 2 weeks have been a big bag of dick. Now,
Uh-oh. Now, with you personally, or do you mean in the world in general?
just why we weren't on air.
Oh, okay. Right.
I'm not going to go into the backstory too much because that's in-house and I want to leave that alone. There's just some things. But long and short is there was a schedule that should not have been made to have our ISP turned off. Not disconnected due to lack of payment. We actually got money back.
Yeah,
They
we
credited
got
us back the difference,
That's when
right?
I looked at the bill and I told you, I don't understand
There's
this
a minus
shite.
sign next to it.
Because it says, blah, 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 996 credit. How the hell does that happen?
Right. So you can't be shut off if they owe you money. That's not how it works usually.
What the hell?
And then I'm like, well, since when do we overpay anything? And that's really the shocking part in all of that. But so I call, and like I said, I'm not going to destroy necessarily the ISP provider, just so that it can't pull shenanigans. But they rhyme with bombast, bombastic, and essentially there was a miscommunication about our service, and they thought we wanted it disconnected, which we obviously do not. No problem. We'll get it turned back on later on today. This is 2 Mondays ago, mind you. I am away out of town for business. Okay, great. End of day Monday. Yeah, this was just a misunderstanding. We can just hit the old switch.
And I'm sure you remember that lovely phone call when you're away, and I went, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Sean? Yes. Are you sitting down?
Hey there. Ritual here to give a big shout out to you for making it through the hectic holiday season. The magic of those family moments, that was you. And now there's new milestones to prep for in 2025. This new year, check clean, quality, pregnancy nutrient support off your to-do list with Ritual. We've done the research to create science-backed pregnancy support like our prenatal multivitamin, natal choline, and fertility support, all designed to be taken alongside each other. But don't just take our word for it. They're also third-party tested for microbes and heavy metals and Clean Label Project certified. So whether you're trying, thinking about trying, or already there, we don't have to tell you that prioritizing yourself can be the hardest part. That's why we're helping you get started today with 30% off a 3-month supply for a limited time at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
He's all bad, man.
Yes. I have something to tell you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I explode as only I can do, which you don't hear it a lot on the air, right? Normally I don't come off the hinges too much on the air. I'll go off
You're
on my...
very controlled. You're a very centered
Right.
individual.
I go off on my tirades when I need to. But overall, I'm usually pretty well under control. I was not that evening. Fighting with them back and forth. You would think if I call you 3 hours after you've disconnected the service that was supposed to be a scheduled disconnect that should not have been, all you'd have to do is go, hey, our bad. Click. It's back on. Everything resumes. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Well, see, don't you think it's the first thing that I thought was, wait, Now, you were telling me that they actually needed to come back,
Yes.
get
Yes.
physically into
Yes.
the studio.
They had to change the box out.
So, question.
Yes.
Why is it that a service provider like that can immediately turn you off remotely, but they can't go
Unions.
bing
Unions.
back on?
Unions. I guarantee you it's union. The installers union says, hey, anytime a service has stopped for more than X amount of time or it's because of the end of a contract or requested service cancellation, then in order to restart it, we must have a service installer respond and make sure that it's all put together well.
Yeah, for those of you not watching in YouTube Live and Facebook Live right now under SHR
hurts.
Media,
Oh, it
what
hurts.
you missed was the eye rolling
Yeah.
of Sackhead Sean about 10 seconds ago.
Son of a bitch. So the long and short, okay, fine. After a few days, they were like, oh, no, we can turn it back on. We can't turn it back on. You know, whatever. It's like a high school love-hate relationship. They say, hey, we can turn it back on, but we got to send a technician out. Well, fuck.
For what?
Because I know, right, the box is sitting here. We haven't touched anything.
No, the box is absolutely fine.
Everything's A-okay.
All we did, when I was in here, the only thing I did is I reset the box, I reset the router, I checked the internet connection, blah, blah, blah.
Nothing.
Nothing
Nothing
until
that
I
we
finally
needed to worry
called,
about.
and they said, oh, well, the reason you don't have internet is because you don't have internet.
I'm not going to lie. I've never said the words motherfucker on
As many times.
on a customer service call with a company. I'm on the phone and I felt bad for the guy. I know it's not him, and I told him that repeatedly. And I wasn't calling him one. I was just calling the situation one. And I was losing my mind, BZ.
I spoke to you over the telephone when you were away. Yep, you bet. Completely understood. I get it.
I was so far out of my gourd, it wasn't even kind of funny.
You were.
So, long and short, they go, hey, we got to schedule it. Great. This is the Thursday before last. When can you do it by? Oh, no problem. Let me look. Ding. How does next Thursday sound? Well, the term motherfucker came out again.
Yeah.
And I said, you kidding me? I said, hey, listen, our business has been with you guys for a couple years now.
See, and that's the deal. That's the thing I don't get. It's business. Okay, now what if we were, I don't know,
A
Kaiser?
medical office.
Let's say, let's say we were an office of Kaiser.
Yes.
And now this is different from a home account. We have a business account.
Yes.
So I would think, okay, if Kaiser calls and says our internet is down, would you treat them the same way in a business account that you treated us?
Right.
Well, we didn't get a damn thing done for 2 weeks.
Right. And here's the problem. In this area, your options are practically limited. You have the other two larger ISP providers
Well,
in the
I'm
area.
trying to figure out who else is here besides them.
AT&T. But the
Okay. Well, and you can get stuff from the satellite.
right, which sucks. It's slow. It's not good.
I don't know anything about it.
It's
except
horrible.
It's damn expensive.
Yeah, and it's ridiculously expensive. AT&T, who is horrible to begin with, they're another company. Like the one thing I will say about Bombast is that financially, the cost effectiveness for what we need is very good. The price is reasonable. We've never had an issue up. I mean, we've had a couple outages here and there, but I don't think it's not always their fault, right? Cars hit poles,
Yeah,
shit
exactly.
happens. The FBI sends the black helicopters over. All those things sort of happen. But price-wise, they're always the best one going. So you look at AT&T. It was as soon as you touch most people don't realize this. When you get internet into a business,
Did you even look at AT&T?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did you? Okay.
I looked at a couple different places. Once you say, "Hey, we're a business. We want internet," they go, "Hey, add 60% to the price."
Exactly. That's exactly
Wait,
the deal.
what? Oh yeah. Another 60%. Okay. Comcast doesn't really do that. It's a little bit more, but it's not horrific. It's very reasonable considering. So all the other ones were just ridiculously expensive, so you're almost forced to go with it. Or I would have, if I could have gotten somebody out here that Tuesday, I would have. Absolutely would have. So either way, after 2 weeks of hell and fighting, and thank you, Dan Butcher, over at Lone Star
that
for
was
last week for hosting us.
Oh,
that was
boy.
amazing.
That was a lifesaver. He saved me, and then he saved Sackheads.
Yeah.
And so my hat's off to him. My hat is physically on my head right now. But in a word, a manner of speech,
Yes.
my hat is off to Dan.
And he absolutely helped us out. And Jersey Joe last week, who helped at the last second bridge it to Spreaker after I begged him to, which, I get a message for Jersey Joe.
Oh, he's still in chat. Yeah.
Jersey Slow, as his new nickname shall be, because he is a little.
Jersey Slow.
And Joe, if you're watching on YouTube, buddy, look in the eyes. See me? I'm the fucking boss. I'm the boss.
It's true.
I'm the boss.
Hey, listen, I told him in chat. It's on record. I told him. I said, I'm not the boss. He's the boss.
I know. I don't know what the hell he's thinking. This is what happens when you don't smack kids around.
I know they grow
Or a
up
dog.
like that.
Every once in a while, they get out of control. You got to remind them, put him back in their place. He just needs to be put back in his place, and
Well,
it's fine.
See, when they're small, they're little lizards.
Yes.
And if you don't do anything about them while they're little lizards, then they grow into be big dragons.
Alligators in the sewers.
That's right. And anacondas coming out of your toilet. Folks, I want you to remember this. When you go away tonight in the Sackheads radio show, I'm going to
God.
leave you with a mind worm, and that's this. The next time you open the lid on your toilet, you better stand back about 5 feet because there's an excellent chance
Jersey Joe.
there's a poisonous reptile in there. Or once you settle on top of the toilet and you're starting to get comfy.
Why do you do this to people?
You're starting to get comfy now. Maybe you've picked up a magazine from the
BZ.
rack and you look in there and you can hear in the other room there's some nice lilting stereo music and things are going well, and all of a sudden you remember what I said, and there's an anaconda in that pipe coming for you right now, and when they grip they have 4 sets of teeth and they never let go.
The best
That's it for us this
late-night
week,
talk
folks.
show in
Here on
America.
the What do you like Dan Butcher, right?
How am I like Dan Butcher?
As soon as you come on our show, it's like, let's just fuck with people all day long. Let's just make people feel uncomfortable as much as humanly possible. Oh,
I'm telling you. Mindworm.
sweet mother
Right
of
there.
pearl. Sweet mother of pearl. BZ, we went 3 minutes over our intro, and as we have a tendency to do, where do you want to go first?
Well, hell, I guess we could go to Sacramento.
Yes.
The NAACP in Sacramento wants to have the national anthem
Yes.
removed. Well, that's a good choice, isn't it? We don't need no stupid national anthem.
Yeah, well,
Well, we don't need the Star-Spangled Banner as our national anthem.
what are they suggesting?
There was a guy in Tucker Carlson tonight who was saying that, well, it wasn't until 1929 or 1931 that we changed from America the Beautiful.
Right.
And then we went to Star-Spangled Banner. And when we went to Star-Spangled Banner, we went whole hog racist.
Well, it went first and foremost. It's all about war, right?
Well, you can't have... That's funny. You must have watched that same element, that same scene.
I didn't.
Because the guy from the NAACP said, it's a song about war.
Yes.
And violence.
Yes.
We can't have that.
Yes. Yes, we can. Holy shit, yeah, we can.
It can't happen here.
Here's the reality of it. Without a war, we would not exist. We would still be driving on the wrong side of the road. We would be speaking very differently. And actually, at this point, if you look at the history of the world and the 2 world wars that we had to save, we could very well be goose-stepping around in half the country.
That was my next thought is English. Hell, we'd all be speaking German.
Yeah, or Japanese.
Well, yeah.
And the Man in the High Castle, the book, the TV show on Amazon. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, check it out. Had you read the book? I think you and I have talked about this. You'd read the book, The Man in the High Castle, right?
I've read almost everything that Philip K. Dick wrote.
Yeah.
Philip K. Dick was a California guy, a science fiction author. He died, I think he died in the 70s, either the middle to late 70s. In any event, what a lot of people don't realize is that Philip K. Dick was suffering from serious mental problems all through his life, which is one of the reasons that he came up with all of this weird stuff. Blade Runner, for example,
Yes.
is one of his stories. AI is from one of
movie.
his stories. Minority Report is
Another
from one of
his.
his
Yep.
stories.
All of those sci-fi, the robots take over, except for
Man in the High Castle.
Man on the High Castle, which is a brilliant book. And actually, Amazon's doing a great job with it. If you don't know the plot, long and short, we lose World War II. The country split in half. The Germans essentially get everything from Chicago, a little bit past Chicago, but Chicago to the East Coast. The Japanese get everything from the Colorados, from the Rockies to the West Coast. And then there's kind of a no man's land in between. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It's a great show. It's a great book if you haven't had a chance. But this brings me back to the Star Spangled Banner. Yes, it's a show about war. It's a song about war. Yes, it's a song about American pride and war. Yes, whether people want to admit it or don't want to admit it, war has given us the freedoms that we have. I know that people have perished. I know on both sides. Lots of people have perished. Oh my God, it's called fucking war. And that doesn't mean that it's always a good thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we should erase our history. I know it was America the Beautiful before the Star Spangled Banner. I also know that we have this weird plague in this country of removing our history. It is an epidemic. It is an illness. These fucking losers on the left can't help but destroy our history.
It's not really manifested itself. I mean, it's always been present. It's kind of been background, but it really manifested itself primarily after the election of Donald Trump.
Yes.
And that's when everything came to the forefront. In this in particular, they're saying the state chapter of the NAACP is going to seek their support in California lawmakers, for a campaign to remove the Star Spangled Banner. And so what they're doing is they're saying they want to rescind what they consider to be one of the most racist, pro-slavery, anti-black songs in the American lexicon. And then made reference to Colin Kaepernick.
Oh, geez.
Now, how do you make this nexus of the Star Spangled Banner and Colin Kaepernick? How can a logical thinking human being decide that, let's link hubcaps to an orange? Because I see the obvious connection, don't you?
Oh, God, these leftists. I want to bang my head off a desk, and by desk, I mean axe. This is so painful.
Okay, here's what they object to. They say it's the third stanza that is seldom sung. Mm-hmm. Now, you, Sean, everyone in chat, you tell me if this is racist and pro-slavery, and throw on a couple ists to that to boot. Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave.
Okay.
Does that not sound to you like that's the situation that the United States found itself in?
Yes.
And then they're trying to liberate it, which is why they're fighting the British.
Yes. Which is exactly what it was written for.
Yes.
And once again, I know this brings us back to Kaepernick, slave. Oh.
I wonder who this is.
It's probably going to be nobody important. I'm going to mute it. So,
okay. All right, good.
This brings me back once again to this ridiculous notion that, first and foremost, we're all responsible now for the actions of people in the past, that slavery is alive and well today. Just because the NFL doesn't want to sign you because you're an asshole does not mean that slavery is somehow running rampant. And erasing our history does nothing to better this country. These are facts. It's well known, right? Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job because he's an asshole. He is a less than subpar quarterback in the NFL standards. And the attention he would draw to a team would actually overwash the actual team itself.
Okay, here's what they're making reference to. That particular article was saying that the song "The Star-Spangled Banner" celebrates the death of black American slaves who joined British troops during the War of 1812 to gain their freedom.
Right.
So Francis Scott Key, the guy who wrote it and wrote the lyrics, was it? And here's the worst aspect of it all, as far as they're concerned: he was a slave owner, was, and a fierce opponent of abolition.
Mm-hmm.
They say. That's funny. I can come up with other history. You know who the biggest slave traders were on the planet at the time?
Prominent African-American Democrats in the South.
Africans.
Yeah.
Who dealt in the slave trade.
Yes.
And didn't mind taking money for their own people.
Absolutely.
Who are the current slavers today? Where are they located?
Muslims, Middle East.
And
in Africa.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do we mention that?
Sackhead Clint,
no,
sir.
No, we don't. Clint, do we mention that?
Hi, Clint.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, doing just ducky. How are you? You called in 4 minutes before the break.
Well, I called in and I listened to Sackhead Sean going on a complete tear, and it was awesome.
Do you mean that? You really like me, don't you?
Yes.
You really
I
like
love
me.
you, and you know this. But no, it was friggin' amazing. It was great.
Oh man, how you doing, buddy?
I'm awesome.
I can tell.
Well, I'm awesome now that I'm with you guys.
Now,
otherwise I was, yeah.
Now, how many rocks got thrown at hookers tonight?
A lot.
1, 2. Now, so first of all, I need to know your definition of rock, because rock encompasses somewhere above a pebble, but below a stone. And so I want to know kind of where your definition of rock is, because I might have thrown some pebbles, stones, and maybe even a boulder.
Well, so a rock to me is anything larger than a pebble that you can hold in your hand. A stone to me, in the bottom of a river, right? River rocks, that kind of 3x2 size, maybe a little bit maybe an inch and a half, 2
I
inches.
don't know that it has to be at the bottom of a river, right? Because otherwise, a rolling stone would in fact be able to gather moss, because it'd be like just at the bottom, right? So a stone has to be able to roll, so it can't necessarily be at the bottom of a river.
Keith Richards
So I don't know if I agree with
has
that definition.
never gathered any moss.
Keith Richards, can't gather moss because there's so many drugs in his body, nothing
That's
would
right.
grow on him. So Clint, to
Right,
answer,
which is why he's still alive.
exactly, he's going to outlive
Because
all of us.
he's preserved. He's well preserved.
He's going to outlive all of us. I don't even know how that's
Yeah.
friggin' possible. It's amazing to me.
Listen,
it's the
I'm on the
same-
way.
It's the
I'm
same
trying.
reason why cockroaches and North Koreans continue to... Wait, what?
Wait, what?
What?
So, Clint, we have 2 minutes for a break, and I want you to chime in on this. We're talking about the NAACP in Sacramento essentially trying to remove the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, and your thoughts. You have, I'll give you 95 seconds. Go.
Yeah, so look, here's the thing. I mean, the Star-Spangled Banner, if you recall, was written by Francis Scott Key, who was, I believe, sailing a slave ship over to the United States from Africa when he was looking at the stars. And whenever they beat the slaves, they'd hold a banner up that would basically say, obey the rules. And so I think it's a song about beating slaves under the stars while this banner, reminding them to behave themselves, flew overhead. So in this case, I have to agree with the folks that want to outlaw this racist, incredibly insensitive song.
I can't even. There are some days I can't even with him. It's absolutely ridiculous. But this time he's dead accurate. Now listen.
Golf Dogs has a great comment, by the way. Golf Dogs had the comment of comments. Golf Dog says, Clint sounds strange on a jailhouse phone.
No.
Hey, look it. So for those of you that don't know, look, I may have been picked up by the NSA.
What?
So I'm in a non-disclosed location, and it's not important how I got the cell phone in here. What's important is I'm with you all right now.
Right, but they did note in your booking form that you walked odd, and
That's the commercial about Keister, right?
right, the Keystone. You meant Keystone, folks. We're up against a break here on the Sackheads Radio Show.
Right.
Well, of course, we're going to return right here at shrmedia.com. Clint will be on the phone. BZ will be in the room with me, and we will be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch River Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reverb Common Sense, and you're listening to SHRmedia.com.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, the 8th of November, 2017. Sitting across from me is the one and only Bloviating Zeppelin. Sitting immediately onto the phone is the one and only Big Nose himself, our good friend, Sackhead Clint. Sir.
Yes.
Because you are like a guest this evening and you like hardly even count.
Right.
I'm what? BZ? Why are you laughing at that, buddy?
No reason.
I am going to I'm going to give you the next topic, pal.
The boss, by the way, says to tell Sean to get into the chat or he's fired.
Well, first of all, who's the boss?
That's a good question. Is the boss or is the boss the boss?
Right. Which boss
There's
is the
a big
boss?
difference in the two. Speaking of chat, folks, if you're just kind of passing by, you're doing a late-night conservative talk drive-by on the show right now, there's a lot of people in chat, and you should join them. Mary Brockman's in chat, Jersey Joe, Dave, Golf Dogs, Mike, the Virginian, Mamba, the Boss, and count them, three viewers.
And you can also check us out Facebook and YouTube, as well as Spreaker, shrmedia.com. Whoa, what was that?
Yeah, what was that?
Clint, are you okay? Did your bag of rocks fall open?
Did I? Wait, what?
Your bag of rocks.
Listen.
Clint. Rocks.
Just,
Jeez, why is it always dirty with
look,
you?
Isn't that an accoutrement that goes to
rocks,
snap on a gate?
To throw at hookers is it's an art. As you know, I mean, I've tried. We've gone out and I've tried showing you no fewer than 7 different occasions.
Right.
The exact. It's almost like finding a good hooker throwing stone is
like
almost as important and difficult as finding a good skipping stone.
Right. You've mentioned that.
Right.
A lot of work, time, and consideration goes into it. I've seen you polish them.
Yes, yeah, because if you polish them, it's more aerodynamic.
Yes.
And it cuts through the filth of the streets in the air in California
Why does
to
this
be able
have
to
to happen?
maximize the velocity.
Why does this have to happen? I don't even know why anymore. Clint?
Yes?
You'd like to talk about something now. It's going to be the time there, bud.
Yeah, I do. Look, I want to talk about the shooting in Texas at the church.
Okay.
And, horrific shooting. Obviously, I know I'm guessing at some point we're going to get to the Trump and the Asia visit right now. Or not right now, but sometime this evening.
Right.
But, just the tragedy of the church. And obviously here at SHR, our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and the families of those victims. Some, I heard once where I actually had to turn off the news a couple times, particularly when the story about the mom that kind of saved her was like 6 or 7 or 8-year-old girl, daughter, but her other 2 kids, but the mom and the other 2 kids were killed. Right. And, horrible tragedy. But I want to talk about 2 things in regards to this story. Number one, I want to talk about how this act was stopped and what prevented more people from becoming victims.
Yes.
And I want to talk about some of the reaction from some folks on the left. And I want to start with the reaction first because some of the things I saw, it didn't just sicken me, but it made me sad. And it made me very sad as an American because here we have an event. And look, I don't care what side of the political spectrum you land on here. You have a horrible event, but there were people on Twitter and everything else, hey, our thoughts and prayers go out, moments of silence in Congress, and you had one asshole congressman from California just walk out on a moment of silence and immediately take to Twitter and say, oh, enough moments of silence, we need to do something. You know what, fuckhead? How about for a second you sit there and you fucking pay tribute to the victims? It's about paying tribute to the victims at that moment. It's not about pushing an agenda.
Right.
So you want to push an agenda, that's fine. Push your agenda, have that debate in Congress. But the time when the victims are being honored, that's what that's for.
Yeah, exactly.
And as an American, you can't do that. You know what? Fuck that guy. I mean, that is, and I don't care if it was a Republican doing this. I don't care who it is.
No, it's an outrage.
To not even be able to have. So I equate that. That is worse than. So you've been to like a hockey game, right? Or even a Major League Baseball game, or like a AAA baseball game, where you have a team from Canada or from another country's there, and they play that team's national anthem or that country's anthem. Like I've been at River Cats games here in Sacramento where they've played the Canadian national anthem, and you know what? People still stand.
Yeah.
Out of respect for that flag.
Absolutely.
Right? We may not believe in that flag, may not believe in that anthem or whatever it is, but we stand for out of just respect.
Sheer respect.
So if it's a moment of silence for victims who've been killed, fucking stand. Have that moment of silence. Be a thoughtful, caring, loving, empathetic human being, and not an asshole politician looking to politicize everything and push an agenda.
Right.
So, and look, I saw Twitter remarks where there were people talking about, hey, our thoughts and prayers are with them. They're like, oh, they were in church. A lot of good their prayers did them.
Right.
And just making comments like that. Look, if you're not religious, hey, that's fine. That is your right. I respect that. I 100%, you go do whatever it is. If you're atheist, agnostic, whatever you are, Muslim, Christian, whatever, hey, go do your thing. As long as you're not infringing upon the rights of others,
Yep.
or killing other people or anything, go do you, right? And we've talked about that before. Like, hey, homosexuality, hey, go do you. I don't care.
Right.
Right?
It's up to
your
you and how you
thing,
want to do it.
Whatever. Absolutely. Your life, go live it. Right? That's kind of the libertarian slant. A little L, right, BZ?
Well, yeah.
But to hear, bless you, but to have that type of reaction
Thank
to
you.
people on Twitter and stuff, it makes me sick that as a country we're that divided to where we have a tragedy like this, and that's the response we get, not just from other people, but from an elected representative in Congress. The other thing is, and I haven't seen, look, these events should not be politicized one way or another, but I don't hear a lot of Republicans out there touting anything else either necessarily, right?
Right.
Like, obviously, this is a case that's going to be used to justify more, less restrictive gun laws, obviously.
Right.
So let's talk about how this was stopped. But it's not being done, or at least I haven't seen being done in a horrible way. I haven't heard anybody on the right say everybody needs a gun regardless of mental capacity and stability, and we just fucking need to kill everybody.
Well,
Liberals are killing us.
I haven't
right?
I haven't heard that anywhere either.
I haven't heard liberals are killing us through their laws. All these shootings are the liberals' fault because they won't let us carry guns.
Right.
I haven't heard the argument posed that way, which is in stark contrast with how I've heard the left politicizing this in some circles, not all the circles, right? Which is the NRA is killing us. The NRA is causing this. Actually, assholes, the NRA, a former instructor for the NRA, stopped this event.
Yes.
And this is an important piece that a lot of media is leaving out. There was no law enforcement involved in stopping this attack.
No.
It was not law enforcement that went in pursuit of this guy.
Nope.
This guy killed 20-some-odd people in a church, injured another 20-something, right?
Right.
And was stopped when a neighbor across the street heard the gunfire. This guy is a former NRA firearms instructor.
Right.
He got his privately owned firearms, responded to the scene, hit this guy while he was conducting his attack in the leg and in the side underneath the vest.
Yep.
Caused this guy to stop the violence. He put down his rifle, dropped it, threw it down, whatever it is, got in his truck, and left the scene. He stopped the violence.
Yes, he did.
This brave citizen, this hero, not the cops, this brave American, got in and chased his ass down.
Yes. With another fellow citizen.
With another citizen. They go in pursuit of this guy. And this guy ends up crashing and ends it. Decides, oh, shit, I'm done.
Yeah. And he was.
And saved and he wasn't. And saved who knows how many other lives. I mean, potentially those 20 who were injured and some that were not could have potentially been finished off.
Yep.
And so I want to talk about those two components of this attack. And look, I will grant the argument. 100%. I will grant the argument that this guy never should have been allowed to have a gun.
Exactly.
I'll grant that. Based upon his conditions in the United States Air Force, you know, the treatment for his child and his wife and everything else that he had going on, the domestic violence issues, this guy never should have owned a gun. So I'm not going to stand here and defend that he should or say.
But I don't
you know
think
what,
anybody is, Clint.
No, I don't either. But I bring that up because I want to be fair, right? Because people on the left that are going to listen to this segment are going to just take away from it the fact that I'm calling out Democrats and I'm calling out and I'm praising a private gun owner who stopped it.
Right.
And what I want to make sure is that I'm giving a fair analysis, also pointing out that, hey, this is, in addition to being a case where, yes, somebody, a private citizen with a gun stopped this horrific attack. So for making that argument, I also want to say, hey, this is also a case that demonstrates the need to ensure some sort of reporting, even if it's from the military, for people discharged under circumstances, right?
Right.
In order to prevent people with these types of issues from having guns. Because do I think felons need to necessarily have guns, violent felons? No, absolutely not. Of course not.
Right.
Do I think that people with dangerous mental issues need to have guns? So absolutely not. They don't need to have guns. I think it needs to be measured. I don't think that because somebody is necessarily may have mild autism as a disability or something doesn't mean I think they should necessarily be excluded. But if you're somebody who has demonstrated violence and has these types of issues, absolutely I think there should be some way to prevent those people from purchasing guns. And there was a failure here, and I think a gap in the system or a failure in the system has been identified that needs to be addressed and fixed.
And we've talked about this, though, right? Clint, and before BZ came on the air, you and I have talked about this exact thing 152 times, without exaggeration.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. We've talked about how important it is. We've talked about the fact that there absolutely needs to be some sort of restrictive guidelines for those who are mentally insane. And look, this guy escaped a mental institution when he was in with the service. We've talked about this before, too. Anyone who's in the service will tell you that there are things that if you get charged in with the service, inside the service, will never see the light of day once you leave the military. Now, is there some things that absolutely that is fitting for? Then yeah, I can see that. But are there certain things, especially given domestic violence laws in this country, are there certain things that should absolutely come over that line? Absolutely. Mental health and domestic violence, I think, qualifies as both of those things that should be brought into the as a combination into the civilian world when you run a civilian background check, i.e., civilian. But
well, so here's my thought on that, and I think it's a very easy test. And you know, people may try and complicate it, but it's really not that complicated. The United States military is run by a civilian. The commander-in-chief is the president of the United States, who is a civilian. The military is subservient to the civilian authority. It doesn't supersede the civilian authority.
Right.
The United States military is subservient to the civilian authority, and that is very much by design.
Yeah.
Because we don't want a country run by the military or a military state here. And because the military is subservient to the civilian population, if there is anything in a serviceman's record or a service person's record that affects the civilian community, i.e. any kind of conviction, unless the records are sealed for national security reasons,
right,
then I think it shall be disclosed on some kind of NCI, National Crime Information Center database, and should be reported just like any other criminal record.
Well,
why would it not be?
And I agree. I think if it meets a crime that is on a civilian standard outside the UCMJ, then it should absolutely enter into your criminal history as it would with any other state.
I think it should be anything, even if it's unless it's a military policy violation,
right? And that's what I'm saying.
Not a criminal violation,
right?
If it's a criminal violation, even under the USMJ, I think it should be reportable.
Well, and
it can show up on a crim history as a USMJ or a USC violation,
right?
But it should absolutely be there.
Well, I think the difference is there are some things that are very military specific that absolutely can stay in, and we could sit there and go down the list of them all, right? I think one of my biggest ones is there's absolutely, insubordination and stuff like that it can amount to criminal under the UCMJ, but isn't necessarily a crime outside. It's no different than if you're at work and you're not listening and you work at Joe's video shop and they fire you for it. It's not going to go on your criminal history. You know what I mean? Their duty does bring certain criminality or does bring them to certain levels where not performing it will be criminal, but it doesn't necessarily. That's what I'm saying. If it equates to a civilian code outside of the military, then I think it should be crossed over, and that crosses that essentially covers every law that's on a civilian book.
I don't know because each jurisdiction is different, right? So if you're an asshole in the military and you're insubordinate, you're probably going to be an asshole out in the civilian world.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to equate to a criminal conviction outside of the militry.
True.
Well, there's a nexus to this.
I don't even think you're going to. Yeah.
No, BZ, I don't know.
There's a nexus to it. If you're talking about two elements that are criminal in nature, then there should be a definite nexus to that.
Yeah.
If it's a criminal statute in the civilian world, likely it's going to be a criminal statute and applicable under the UCMJ. Now, that said, the government that leftists absolutely love and want to trust with everything is the government, i.e. specifically the United States Air Force, that was responsible for inputting that information into the computer system, garbage in, garbage out, or nothing in, nothing out. The information should have been there. The United States Air Force is the government. The government screwed up. It was admitted that they should have put the information in there, available for access, and they failed to do so. Had it been in there, I submit, though, then the people would have seen that. When you run an NCIC check and other state and local checks, that information would have been revealed. It was not revealed. Why? Because it's the government.
Here's the thing. I don't necessarily know that it was an oversight. I mean, what are the?
There's an article that I read that said yes, it was an oversight. The Air Force fucked up.
Civilian authority. Hang on. If a civilian authority fails to report something, if a civilian authority fails to pull a felony arrest warrant out of the system, if a civilian authority fails to input something like a felony domestic violence conviction where there was severe bodily injury, and as a result there was death or something like that happened, there is major liability there.
Yes.
What is the liability for the Air Force here?
Well, I think
does the United States military or the federal government as a whole exclude certain records out of convenience? Because if you have a bunch of assholes working for you, what's that really say about you as an organization?
Well, I can tell you straight away the answer is yes. There are certain things that get excluded all the time. There's absolutely certain things that get ducked all the time.
And that's my point.
But that's what I'm saying is, as long as it's standard and on par, and like you said, it's different state to state, this and this, great. But when you pull a criminal, most states, by and large, have reciprocity in criminal convictions, right? It may be called manslaughter in this state and involuntary homicide in this state, but the parameters are the same, right? So when we're talking about that, you also have to acknowledge that there are certain things that are just not going to be occurring off of a military base that need to be outside of that as well. That's like me saying that if you run my criminal history, you should learn about the write-up I got at work when I was 19 years old because I didn't.
No, I disagree, and here's why I disagree.
Okay.
I think if you get a conviction in a city court, if you get a city code violation,
right,
and you get convicted of a city code violation,
right,
there's a chance that's going to pop, right? And now that doesn't mean that if somebody is checking a background for a job somewhere, unless it's a sensitive position, they're probably not going to care that you got convicted of misdemeanor mopery.
Right.
right? They're not going to give a shit that you got convicted for insubordination. But that's good information. It doesn't mean it's going to exclude somebody from getting a gun. But the bottom line is that member of the military is a member of government. And if you really want transparency, that member of the military, when in that uniform, does not mean they get the same rights and privileges as the private person does.
Well, they
don't.
actually get far less, and we've talked about that before.
So exactly. And that's my point. So if you get convicted of something in the military, I'm not saying a personnel write-up for a policy violation.
Right.
But you get convicted of something that's a violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, I think it should be reported out of transparency, because they are not their own person. They are a member of the United States government, a member of the United States military, which is subservient to the civilian authority. And if it doesn't rise to something that's going to prohibit employment somewhere, so be it. But I think that should be recorded.
Well,
and if you err on the side of, unless it's a national security issue,
but
and I would submit by failing to report is a national security issue, as we just saw, then I think it should be in there.
Well, and not more importantly, but the lane next to this, so to speak, is the mental health. This guy was put into mental health and either escaped or was allowed to leave. There was some serious issues going on there that were well documented, as it appears. That certainly should have been appropriately dispersed among certain authorities. And when we talk about gun rights and we talk about mental health issues, there's that fine line, and we've talked about it before, states of California trying to get that restraining order against a gun owner type thing, where it's like, till this guy gets checked out and evaluated by a shrink, we don't know if he should have a gun. Well, for what cause, other than the fact that you don't like my shirt? There's that balance that you got to find, right? But on the other hand, if somebody has been evaluated and there is a medical doctor, and as much as I think 80% of shrinks are lunatics themselves, maybe higher, the reality of the situation is, if you have somebody who's a licensed medical doctor or a therapist or what have you, who says, hey, this person should not own a gun, at least pending an appeal process that should not cost that person money, and we've talked about this before too, but, hey, you go and, you have 3 other state doctors you can see. I would almost be okay paying for it at that point, right? As a taxpayer, like, no, this guy we have to make sure if he loses his right to carry a gun or not. It's a big deal in this country. But you also have to, the BAT for Form 4473, but you also have to consider that. And we've had this conversation any time that we've had a mass shooting incident, when we've talked about Adam Lanza and Sandy Hook and all these other ones where mental illness was obviously a driving force or a potential driving force. Now, do I think that this guy was mental or an asshole? I think he was an asshole more than he was mental. I almost wonder if he wasn't playing mental when he was getting in trouble in the military to try to duck criminal charges. However, it doesn't matter. What mattered is he was committed on some level by a government entity and should have been excluded, and was excluded, from carrying and owning a weapon. He should not have possessed the weapons that he had. We have laws in place that forbid that anyhow. Even as it stands today, he should not have had the weapons that he should have had.
I would suggest we go back to
we have laws in place that forbid mass murder too. But
no, I agree wholeheartedly.
We see how well just the law
right
stops people.
Right.
If laws alone stopped people, we would have no crime.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. You know that.
Yeah.
But
I know you're not. But
okay.
My point is, assholes exist in the world.
And always
you
will.
Can pass as many laws that are put into place, and they always will.
Look at Paris,
Sometimes
France,
the only
toughest
way to
gun
stop
laws.
One of them. Yeah.
And by the way, this is the second time in Texas, in recent memory, that a good guy with a gun, I know it's happened a bunch more times, but newsworthy, that a good guy with a gun was able to engage and eliminate a bad guy with a gun. The last time that I can remember on this scale was the Texas police officer outside this Pamela Geller art show, where the 2 guys from Arizona came over and he put him down before they got out of the car. We talk about it all the time. The left, as soon as this happens, wants to jump to, and you had the asshole walk out, like you said, hey, we got to stop all guns. We got to stop this. We got to stop that. But they also ignore the mental health issue by and large. And we've talked about that over and over and over again. They don't want to have the conversation that, hey, you know what? And Clint, you and I have said this, and I will say this again. I am okay with the institutionalization of people who cannot care for themselves due to mental disability. I know people say, oh, that's horrible. How dare you? But you're trusting these people, and I know we're up against a break.
We had that in California.
Right. You had state hospitals. You're trusting people who cannot act like regular human beings and have these afflictions that are mental to take medication. You're trusting their judgment to do so. And if they miss that medication and they go and have a mental episode that affects other people, there's no like, hey, what are we going to, we can't convict him because he's got a mental illness. He just didn't take his meds that day. Well, if he can't be trusted to take if he can't be trusted to take his meds that day, then he can't be trusted to be out in public by himself. I feel that's the truth. Your solution and then a break.
I have a solution.
Go for it.
Yeah, I have a solution. Bring back asylums.
Yes.
I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about the Form 4473 when we come back.
Wow, are you trying to cut me off?
Well, yeah, we're up against
Yeah, we're up
break.
against a break.
Isn't that
Dang.
What, man?
Man.
I know, you get all cranky.
I guess I'm cut off.
We'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reverb Common Sense, and you're listening to SHRmedia.com.
Welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Clint, I'm actually trying to bring you over on the other side to answer the phone there because it's, if you can hear me, I'd rather you pick up on that. We're calling you. I figured out how to wire it through the board. So, hi.
Who's this?
Hi. Who's this? He says.
Is this the right line?
Is this the?
Who is it?
Do you have pants on?
Who's this?
Housekeeping.
God, I hope not. That would be awkward.
You can hear us okay, I'm assuming, my friend.
Candygram for Mongo.
Oh,
Yes.
Great movie. Great movie. Candygram for Mongo. I love it. So, Clint, before we go into break, obviously we're talking about the Texas shooter. We're talking about the UCMJ making it outside the military circle, making it so civilian authorities can actually see the background check that is made, or any sort of offenses, rather, that is made under the UCMJ. And you also had some other points you wanted to bring up.
No, I don't remember what I was going to say.
Perfect. BZ, BAFTA.
We're time to get into the next segment here, unless you guys want to keep talking about this
Well,
stuff.
I know BZ had a couple last points to make on this topic before we moved on.
One of them is this. Now, we were talking about some of the things that are applicable. Let's go to the Form 4473, which the BATFE insists that you fill out prior to the purchase of a handgun. So this is a literal list of things that when this gets submitted to the BATFE, this is what they're going to background you on in terms of now federal law. Are you under indictment? Oh, the first one is, are you the actual transferee buyer of the firearm? And then it warns you, you better tell us the truth on this. So basically it's saying, are you the dude that's actually going to buy the gun? The second one is, are you under indictment or information in a court for a felony or any other crime for which the judge could imprison you for more than 1 year? So felony? Yeah, you're going to be looking all over the nation for that. Have you ever been convicted in a court for a felony or any other crime that the judge could have imprisoned you, or received a shorter sentence including probation? Are you a fugitive from justice? Are you an unlawful user or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? Have you ever been adjudicated as a mental defective, or have you ever been committed to a mental institution? Again, applicable to this guy. Have you been discharged from the Air Force under dishonorable conditions? Meaning they have to have, the armed forces, I should say, meaning they have to have access to that information to the 5 major branches in order to make this determination. So the linkage is already there. It's already present. Are you subject to a court order restraining you from harassing, stalking, or threatening your child or an intimate partner or child of such person? Have you ever been convicted in any court of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence? So we've got 4 questions that, depending upon the circumstances, this guy answered that were specifically applicable to him. Then, country of citizenship. You got to check off for the country. Have you ever renounced your United States citizenship? Are you an illegal alien or unlawfully in the United States? Are you an alien who's been admitted to the U.S. under a non-immigrant visa? If yes, you must fill in this, blah, 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 blah. So we have 4 separate areas that are definitely applicable to this guy. Now, the reason I say that there must be a nexus is that they would not be asking these questions on the Form 4473 unless the BATFE has access to databases that would give them the answers to these questions. So what this screams to me, all the bells and klaxons are going off saying, you know what? They do. They have access to the federal databases from the services in order to make these various determinations and know a lawful answer to a question. Going back to what I originally said, it was the responsibility of the United States Air Force to input this information. And they did not. And that's the government under which you think that there's going to be a massive solution to all of this, and there isn't.
BZ, I think there's one other possibility that you're not examining, and that is the possibility that all of us here in America are on the honor system.
Okay.
Okay. Continue.
Yeah, because because the government is all powerful. So if they ask somebody a question, either in person or on a form, they have to tell the truth. Otherwise, it's perjury, and there's a law for that. So nobody would want to break the law, and so they're all going to answer truthfully all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Good point. Yep. You bring that up.
So one of the questions on the form. Look, we could solve this whole problem if one of the questions on the form is, are you going to ever commit a mass killing? And if the answer is yes, then we just don't sell them a gun. I don't see why this is so difficult.
That's a damn good point. That is a really good point that you make.
Thank God for you, Clint.
Thank you.
Because we never would have been able to solve this without you.
But you were talking about
so how come nobody's talking about this, right? Everybody wants to be good. They just need a chance to be good. So we should just ask them.
Oh, God, why didn't I think of that? I should have thought of
I don't know. What I want to know is why didn't the leftists think of that?
Because they are too busy saving the world elsewhere, and it was our fault.
Got it.
Chat says they're looking at the photo and they're thinking, so Clint is a wizard?
No. Oh, Clint, you probably can't see. I have your photo up. On the YouTube stream and Facebook Live, just so everyone knows who you are.
It would be amazing if you have like the mouth cut out, almost like one of those silly puppets, and just like a jib jab cartoon, and just make it like move like a string or something. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's the after photograph, isn't it? Though.
Yes, this is the after.
Right.
This is after the surgery. So,
which one?
We didn't want to go there. We're trying to protect you as much we could.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You guys protect the shit out of me.
We're there for you, buddy.
You bet.
We're there for you.
Represent, support.
Moving along, Clint, I know that there was another subject you wanted to get to. This is the best picture in the world. This is so great. BZ, can you see it from there?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
good.
I can see it.
Okay.
And if you're on the SHR YouTube channel watching live right now, or if you're on the SHR Media Facebook channel watching live on Facebook, you're going to see exactly what Clint looks like. This is post-op the last time.
Absolutely. Looking dapper too, my friend.
He's looking exquisite.
Absolutely. Clint, your next subject,
Thank
sir.
You.
Wait a minute. Do I take a little unhappiness?
No,
nothing like that.
Who's in a fucking tutu now? Go ahead. Clint, did we lose you?
I'm not talking to you guys.
It's my favorite part. Love you, buddy.
You're a dick.
We do.
It looks like a big penis. Are you kidding me?
Love you, buddy.
Seriously, draw a head on that thing or something.
There is. It's just on the wrong end.
Yeah, right. It's horizontal, not vertical.
Oh my God, that is horrible.
Well, what's funny is I had a picture you saved that I was actually going to use for this exact thing, and it was one of the ones that we were using for Freedom Fest. I can't find it. Legitimately, I got to find it, so I'll fix it for next time.
All right, I'm turning the YouTube channel off. You're going to drop down to 0 watchers. Fuck you guys. Man, that's funny. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about Trump's trip to Asia. I think he's actually going into China. And I read a story that they actually are not going to turn his Twitter off, even though it's like a social media free country.
Weird.
Yeah.
And of course, I would be extremely careful about that because China is hacking Central.
Oh, yes. So a couple things, right? One, so I want to talk about like Asia as a whole for sure. So I want to put a pin in the Trump visit. But what do you guys think about those tunnel collapses in North Korea because of all the nuclear testing?
Didn't happen. Didn't happen.
What's that?
It didn't happen. North Korea said that it's all lies. It didn't happen. There's not towns around those mountains that are having ridiculously high birth defects and illnesses. None of that stuff. Clint, you're buying into fake news, and I wish you'd stop it.
Oh, so wait a second. So Kim Jong-un and Trump agree on something.
Yeah, this fake news. Listen, after they
Kim
cooked up.
Jong-un's going to come out and say President Trump is right.
Hello, fake news.
Hey, we found common ground
Right.
here on SHR.
Right, and we got to start working with that. As a whole. No, listen. After they cooked off the last one,
you did there because of the tunnels and the collapse. That was a good one.
I did what I can. After they cooked off the last test, numerous geological organizations were worried that it may implode the mountains and the tunnels that they were using for the testing facility going to and coming from. 2 months ago, they were talking about it.
Yes, they were.
That, hey, they've done so many that the structural integrity of the mountain itself is now at risk, and if it falls and collapses in, the amount of radiation that it leaks could be catastrophic to the region, and it fucking happened.
Yep.
That's my thought is, listen, obviously, anytime there are incidents like that, I feel bad for the workers who died in it, and I understand that right now there are adversaries and there could be a potential war between the countries. However, I know the vast majority of miners and workers that were digging those holes for those tests weren't necessarily doing so because they wanted to be there, right? As a matter of fact, I'm guessing that a lot of them were prison labor that they brought in from the re-education camps and the internment camps in order to work at slave labor to dig those tunnels. It's absolutely horrific, but it also goes to show you that what cost Kim Jong-un will put his people through in order to achieve these nuclear weapons.
Yeah, look, I mean, did you watch Trump's speech yesterday from South Korea?
I did. It was excellent.
What an amazing job. And the points he made, look, the economic points he made in terms of the compare and contrast between the North Korean and the South Korean economy, growth, prosperity, all of those things. And you look at those two countries, and there is no denying that. There is no denying the communism versus capitalist model and where people as a whole thrive. And the fact that he made those statements and that argument there in South Korea and in such stark contrast should be a huge wake-up call to all of the socialists here in the United States, which is a movement that's growing. I saw a recent study that over 50% of millennials believe that socialism is a better system than capitalism.
Yes.
That means that within our lifetime, we're going to see the changing of the United States from a capitalist to a socialist society, probably.
You have an article from the Wall Street Journal that just came out. Absolutely correct. 100 years of communism and 100 million dead. The Bolshevik plague that began in Russia was the greatest catastrophe in human history. Armed Bolsheviks seized the Winter Palace in Petrograd, now St. Petersburg, 100 years ago this week, and arrested ministers of Russia's provisional government. That was the beginning of the end. That's the exact same societal model that these massive idiots, Gen Zers and some millennials these days, advocate.
And Clint, I have about a 3-minute kind of clip up of Trump's South Korea speech if you want to listen to it.
Love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's play and talk about it.
This is a very different administration than the United States has had in the past. Do not underestimate us, and do not try us. We will defend our common security our shared prosperity, and our sacred liberty. All the while, the regime has pursued nuclear weapons with the deluded hope that it could blackmail its way to the ultimate objective. And that objective, we are not going to let it have. We are not going to let it have. All of Korea is under that spell, divided in half. South Korea will never allow what's going on in North Korea. On this peninsula, we have watched the results of a tragic experiment in a laboratory of history. It is a tale of one people, but two Koreas. One Korea in which the people took control of their lives and their country and chose a future of freedom and justice, of civilization and incredible achievement. And another Korea in which leaders imprison their people under the banner of tyranny, fascism, and oppression. The result of this experiment are in, and they are totally conclusive. This city and this assembly are living proof that a free and independent Korea not only can, but does stand strong, sovereign, and proud among the nations of the world. Fact, and you know what I'm going to say, the Women's U.S. Open was held this year at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey, and it just happened to be won by a great Korean golfer, Sungjoon Park, and 8 of the top 10 players were from Korea. And the top 4 golfers, 1, 2, 3, 4, the top 4 were from Korea. Congratulations.
Well, you know, one of the things, and we can go into the speech itself, one of the things I've noticed about Trump in this speech, he did so with Prime Minister Abe, and he did so with South Korea. He's kind of got the charm turned on a little bit. You notice that he's
yes.
I know we've talked about this before. I know his relationship with Abe is much closer than people know in public. They actually, I guess, they've grown into this pretty amazing friendship from things that I have read. But he's got that sense of humor. He's got that kind of lighthearted. He's giving credit to the host nation and being very, very funny and easygoing and bringing up non-political things. You know, all the things that they said he couldn't do, he's actually doing it in that regard. And he's also hitting policy points like crazy. And he's not being shy about it whatsoever. And I think that's one of the things that is really nice to see when you have a president abroad representing the nation, not kowtowing or bending over or bowing as much as, hey, we're a nation of respect. We'll respect you if you respect us, and we're going to work together. And if you fall outside those parameters, I ain't got time for you.
John Bolton had nothing but great things to say last night about that speech. And if there's somebody that I believe is attuned to world politics, it's certainly John Bolton.
He has an idea. Clint?
Yeah, look, I thought, first of all, I don't know who wrote that speech, but he did a tremendous job.
Or she.
Sticking.
God, Clint, why?
Yeah, sticking to the talking points.
Why?
What's that?
Why are you always sexist? How do you know it wasn't a she?
I said he did a great job sticking to the talking points.
Right, the person writing the speech is what you said.
Go.
No, the person writing the speech is what you said. You wanted to make this sexist.
Once again, strike.
I won't have it on this show.
He is the president. Sean, just because you have these sexist and racist thoughts does not mean that the rest of us do. So stop projecting.
Listen, I'm just calling you out how I see it, okay? You said he.
Blatant bigot strikes again. Yeah, referring to Trump. Jeez.
As far as
I'm going to go for rocks and hookers.
As far as so far, both with the Korea and the Japanese stop, would you say that this was an exceptional or what's a better word? I don't want to say exceptional because I think that it sets a standard that's unfair. Would you say that he accomplished all that he was trying to accomplish on this trip and that he was effective in his speech?
I don't know because I don't know what he was trying to accomplish on this trip. I think he did an excellent job connecting with the South Korean people.
Right.
I think he did a phenomenal job comparing and contrasting the two nations and the socialist and communist and the capitalist model. I think that he was articulate in his vision and kind of what the problem in the region is. Do I think he accomplished everything he set out to accomplish? I don't know because I don't know what he set out to accomplish there.
Right.
I do think that him going to China is going to be big. Going to be very big.
Huge.
It's going to be huge. And
I can predict what one of the headlines is going to be.
Trump huge in China?
No, one of the headlines is going to be, "See, we told you so, Trump met with the Russians."
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's amazing. They're already swirling around that there may be more indictments coming here at the end of this week or beginning of next week.
Well, the hint is Flynn.
Yeah, and I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it. But they're going to do everything they can right now to overshadow this trip. They're already starting to do it. Look, this was one of the better presidential trips in 8.5 to 9 years, in my opinion. How we were represented, whether you like the president or you don't like the president, you saw a very strong president. He said that at the beginning, hey, this is a different administration. This is a different way of doing things. We will not be pushed around. And really for the international community, despite the rhetoric that they see from our local news going abroad, which is all they get, to see him in person and how he spoke to them, I think will absolutely make a difference for our allies, especially in Asia.
Yeah, look, I think that he's certainly setting a different tone than the Obama administration did. I know we haven't even gotten to the Middle East, and I don't know if we will get to the Middle East. I know we have only a couple minutes to break, but I mean, man, you've got Saudi Arabia almost ready to go to war with Iran.
Yes, that's
because of the
missile.
latest missile attacks into their country.
Well, and that's actually what I wanted to cover a little bit when we got back in Dawn in Brazil, because we haven't talked about that yet.
Yeah, and so the reason I bring that up is because I think that President Trump's foreign policy and the way that he portrays America. Look, the bottom line is, people may say, "Oh, he's kind of an asshole. He talks tough, blah blah," but people really, I think the other countries kind of know not to screw with us right now.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly, dude.
And I'm not saying that in any kind of, bragging or macho kind of way. I'm just saying that there's a different tone. There's a different way that we're being dealt with on the global scale.
Yeah. Well, and look I think a lot of it is the fact that he hasn't allowed North Korea, specifically North Korea, and the Russians to push us around. He's not backing down. And you could say, oh, he's leading us to war. He's not leading us to war, blah, blah, blah. But what he's doing is saying to them, you are not – look, things have changed. This isn't 8 years ago. You're not going to be able to just walk in and get what you want and walk out. We as a nation will not have our principles robbed and financial robbed as we go forward. And it's, I hate to say a new sheriff in town, but it is.
You want to hear one of the most telling aspects of that speech, and I know we got to go to a break, so I want to make this before we go. One of the most telling aspects of that speech was who approved it. Out of left field, literally, out of left field, Madeleine Albright, Secretary of State under Bill Clinton, said that was the right speech at the right time with the right tone.
Yeah.
amazing.
That says a
That's
lot.
called a clue.
That says a lot. Clint, your final thoughts before we go to break.
Yeah, look, I'm excited to see kind of what the meeting with China is going to bring. The fact that he started in South Korea and then is going to China, I think, is very important and sends a message to the Chinese.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to see how this meeting in China is going to turn out, and watching how North Korea responds as well.
I agree, and like I said, only time's going to tell. We're up against a break. When we come back, I do want to talk about Donna Brazil briefly, but I also want to talk about Saudi Arabia and Iran before we get to the end of the hour. Right here on the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network. Stick around.
Media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch River Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe right here on SHRmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always...
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy beers due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reverb Common Sense, and you're listening to SHRmedia.com.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Sackhead BZ in studio with me, and on the phone with us, Sackhead Clint from afar. Sir, before we went to break, we were talking about Trump going to China. I want to stay overseas a little bit, talk about Iran and Saudi Arabia before we get into...
Didn't Spock say only Nixon can go to China? I think Spock said that.
I think you're right. Clint,
what did Spock say?
Hello.
Hi, buddy.
Hi. This connection is cutting out. I'm sorry. I can hear like every other word you guys are saying.
That's okay. That's how it is when you talk in studio for me. So
yeah, he's in the bathroom. He didn't want to tell you. He's in the bathroom.
Hey, Clint, really quick. Saudi Arabia and Iran, it's starting to heat up. The Houthis in Yemen fired a missile that was intercepted allegedly by the Saudi Arabians. The missile is, of course, made by Iran. Iran had, we may have lost Clint from the line, it looks like. And if he calls back, I'll bring him back on. But Iran, Saudi Arabia said, hey, Iran, this is essentially an act of war of you because you're arming these people. You know that they're going to try to attack us, and they have. It is a proxy war with Iran and Saudi Arabia. As of right now, it's proxy. However, both sides are starting to bolster and starting to take lines in the sand, so to speak. I think that's an appropriate analogy given the location of the potential incident. BZ, your thoughts, sir?
Just when you think that things couldn't get more off the hook, so to speak, things get more off the hook. So Yemen thinks it's a great idea to lob a missile towards Riyadh. Number one, what the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah.
And number two, Saudi Arabia. Now, at the same time, there's a new king in town. I think he's, 32, 36, something like that. And at the same time all this crap is going on simultaneously, he's decided that he's going to go against corruption in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
That's turned stuff absolutely politically upside down in Saudi Arabia. Now, he has, in fact, ensconced them in a 5-star resort.
Right. What their Saudi Arabia prison is to them would be paradise to the rest of us, but I digress.
Yeah, all they're saying is the hookers don't have F cups, now they have D cups, and that's a terrible loss of face for all those Saudi princes.
Oh, man.
So at all that, during that time when there's internal strife in Saudi Arabia, they're encountering this, and I have to say I am frankly surprised that, and they know from where this missile sources, they read the media just like we do. I'm surprised that they haven't decided that they're going to do something either to Yemen or to Iran.
Yeah. I am shocked that, and I think Clint's back on the line with us, I am shocked that the Saudis haven't done anything yet. Now
they've been very circumspect in their reaction to this.
That could be at the urging of us. That could be at the urging of Israel. That could be at the urging of the UAE.
We don't know what's going on back channel, and my guess would be there's a lot of stuff going on back channel right now.
Absolutely. Clint, we're talking about the Houthi missile, Iranian-made, that landed in Saudi Arabia, how the Saudi Arabians are acting in the middle of purging alleged corruption. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Look, I think that I think that it's clear that Iran is supplying missiles to the Yemenis. Obviously,
yeah, we are. The U.S. is.
It's clear that Iran is a rogue nation as well. I'm very much afraid of being pulled into two different conflicts with rogue nations. One in Korea and in that part of the world, and one with our partners in the Middle East and that part of the world.
Right.
Particularly if Israel's involved.
Right.
I mean, if these rockets are being launched into Saudi Arabia from Yemen, they're finding their way there. I don't think it's a huge stretch before Iran, who's already made their intentions very clear, start perhaps launching some stuff themselves into Israel. And, Saudi Arabia is a conflict where maybe we can kind of do a little dance, sidestep, kind of stay out of a little bit and maneuver. I don't think there's a whole lot of wiggle room when it comes to doing that with Israel. And so my concern is that Iran is going to start getting stupid, and North Korea is going to seize opportunity and get stupid simultaneously, or vice versa.
Right. And if you're advising Netanyahu, you're advising Saudi Arabia, do you say, hey, look, give us time, or give it a little bit of time? I know it sucks. Or do you do?
You guys, you would not like my advice. Look, my advice would be this. I think horrible deals, beginning with Clinton, have put us in a position with North Korea we were in today, particularly when Clinton said, "Oh, we got their cooperation, and we're going to give them green energy, and they promised not to do this anymore." And the same deal with Iran that Obama cut.
Right.
I think
Identical.
Iran is going to be is going to be the identical situation, maybe 10 years from now,
if not sooner.
So look. If I was advising Netanyahu in Saudi Arabia, I'd be like, "Hey, you guys partner up, get other partners in the region, and go fucking put a stop to their bullshit. If you guys deal with Iran, we'll deal with North Korea."
Well, so I absolutely think that that's the right thing to do. Look, I think the Saudis can take a page out of Israel's book in dealing with Syria. Hey, occasionally you're going to fly someone over into Yemen, drop a couple of missiles, tell them that you're right there and you're not afraid to touch them, and go back. If Iran dares to try to intervene, which they've done in Syria, and Israel's done a really good job of saying, hey, I know the Iranians keep threatening to kill us. They're right in our border, but we're not getting that involved with them. We're just taking care of what's coming over our border. But if Iran decides to try to poke the Saudi Arabian bear, I think you'll see Israel go, ooh, pick us. We'll be happy to help you right now in this. Pick us, please.
Well, I should like to point out, I need to be Captain Obvious of this. Here's an article from 2 days ago from the New York Times. Saudi Arabia charges Iran with act of war, raising threat of military clash. And unless you're schooled in Islam and know what's going on around the Middle East, this is a clash that's been brewing literally for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Yep.
Okay. Shia Muslims are the majority in Iran. Sunni Muslims under Wahhabism are the majority in Saudi Arabia. And the two do not mix.
It's the Hatfield and McCoys.
It is exactly the Hatfields and the McCoys. So if you think that it's just this missile that is predicating this, yeah, this might be the straw and the camel, so to speak. But this crap, Sunni versus Shia,
yeah, geographically you nailed it,
has been brewing for years, and we need to acknowledge that.
And that's the point. So we can acknowledge it, but the fact is this missile, like you said, it could be the straw. Look, it's a perfect excuse. Iran is a major problem. They pose a major threat to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's an excuse now for another country to go handle them before they get to the point where North Korea is, where they have nuclear capability, then I would be encouraging those nations to go handle them.
And ladies and gentlemen,
I think Saudi Arabia and Israel and the Middle East should go handle Iran.
I was going to say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'd like you to meet our friend Israel. Because if anyone is more than capable of leading that sort of strike to have it actually be tactical and effective in the Middle East, Israel is the main player.
Back up just for a little this. Is this not the perfect time for something like this to occur?
Yes.
What would we be doing right now under an Obama regime? We'd probably be giving more $3.7 billion of cash in the dead of night in the back of a C-117 on wooden pallets sent over to Iran. So who financed those missiles from Yemen into Saudi Arabia?
Look,
Barack Obama.
Look,
thank you.
We would be given red lines in the sand like nobody's business right now if Obama was still in office. His toe would be dragging across the sand like Bugs Bunny trying to get Yosemite Sam to fall off a cliff.
But now the communication systems between Netanyahu and Donald Trump are going to be much more inexorably linked in a positive fashion so that one knows what the other is considering. And if there's ever a time that there will be unity against these various factions and elements in the Middle East, it's right now. This is perfect.
I agree. And
in
I
not
also
necessarily
think,
a good way,
but it
is perfect.
And I also think that we will provide plenty of intel and support and not be directly involved.
Yes, we will.
And that's exactly what should happen. And the UAE and Iran and Jordan, Saudi Arabia and Jordan, they should all be kind of working together on this because those are all nations who have identified Iran as the problem in the region. And that if you didn't have Iran acting out, you wouldn't have had half the stuff going on like you have in Syria and Lebanon and every other place that they've caused problems over the years. Hezbollah and Palestine, you'd be cutting the head off of many snakes at that point just by dealing with that one problem. Clint, last word before we get to Brazil.
No, let's get to her.
Okay.
We need to touch base on her.
Okay, Donna Brazile, her book came out this week, and it has not treated anybody in the DNC nicely whatsoever. From making the allegation of, or confirming the allegation that Hillary and the DNC stole the nomination from Bernie, to talking about how Debbie Wasserman Schultz was just a complete disaster for the DNC, and that her lackadaisical approach to everything is what led to a lot of the encryption breaches. And
Debbie Wasserman Schultz was a dumpster fire for the DNC.
Oh, she was a dumpster fire anyways, and she just happened to work for the DNC. You have her going out against CNN and Jake Tapper. You have her attacking literally everybody. And I think if you're a Democrat, if you're more of an old school Democrat, I think that this is the best thing you've seen in a long time. You talk to a lot of the old Democrats, they'll tell you the Clintons are part of the problem with the DNC and the Democrats. They have too much power. They have for years. They just make decisions, and the DNC went with it. You have seen that in Brazile's book. You've seen how essentially the Clinton communication people came in and overran the DNC and said, no, this is how we're doing it now. And essentially, in my opinion, this is a shot to the heart of the Clintons as a political family for having too much power and destroying the DNC. Like Bernie, like progressives, don't like Bernie, don't like progressives. Not the point right now. What it's showing you is their superdelegate system is completely corrupt, and it can be used to manipulate however they choose, and that the nominee is decided well before the people in their own party gets to vote. And I think, Clint, we've talked about this too, and I think BZ, we've talked about it. When you start talking about the Tea Party and the right a couple years ago, and I'm not talking about Antifa and those idiots, but if you're the Democrats right now, you're hoping that maybe that old school blue dog Democrat starts to pop up and split away from this progressive insanity. And I kind of think that this could be that much of a knife into the DNC to start causing this.
There are no Zell Millers anymore. There are no Joe Liebermans. They don't exist anymore.
I agree. Clint?
No, they don't. And we talked about the kind of the look. You look at the state of the Tea Party system here in the country. We've talked about this ad nauseum as well. But we're really going two separate directions. It used to be the country as a whole, we were going one direction. We just had different ways of getting there. We're going two completely different directions. This is also the danger of the two-party system.
Yes.
You think this kind of stuff doesn't happen in the Republican Party, or the Republicans tried like hell to not have Trump be the nominee?
Mm-hmm.
Of course
Jesus.
they did.
We know they
did.
did.
The Democrats just got caught.
Right.
Yeah. The Democrats just got caught. Okay. There was no, family that was unscrupulous enough in the Republican Party to prevent him from getting the nomination by buying it or whatever they did, right? But you think it doesn't exist on the Republican side? Of course it does.
Absolutely.
It just happened to get caught, and they're probably dirtier than some of the other Republicans are.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so I think we need to scrap the whole two-party system. I think we need to go back to top electoral vote getter as president, number two as vice president.
Well, and that would bring some honesty to the floor, right? Because now, really, it could be anybody. And of course, we've seen with the Russian dossier that the DNC was putting together against Trump, we've seen that there are some Republicans and some conservative outlets that are quote unquote conservative outlets that were buying into that as well because they didn't want Trump. Look, we've said before and we've said again, and if Trump didn't win, and I know you can say, well, of course, but if Trump didn't win, let's say it was a Ted Cruz, maybe not Ted Cruz, but let's say it was a Marco Rubio or somebody like that, or Kasich, you would not have a book like this by Donna Brazile. She would have went away. She would have stood in line because, the Party A leader won against Party B. But you now have this outsider, and Trump is an outsider. He's a rich outsider, but he's an outsider to a point, who is completely just upsetting their two-party system and calling out both sides and not afraid to call Democrats and Republicans to the floor. You have him just going against everything that either party wants And for the most part, and I tell people this all the time when they say they don't like Trump, I'm like, show me one policy he's done that's hurt the country so far. You may not like his mannerisms and how he talks, but show me what he's done that's hurt the country so far.
People are making an argument these days that he is more conservative and has got more conservative things that fall under that umbrella done than even Ronald Reagan to this point. And it's 1 year. Let me also tell you another very interesting aspect about Donna Brazile. And the question is, okay, after the publication of the book, to whom did she go for support and to get on all the talk shows?
Oh, she went to Fox.
She went to Fox today on Tucker Carlson. And actually, after listening to that interview, I like Donna Brazile.
I like her a lot more now.
I mean, just sitting down and listening to what she has to say. Yep, she is still a dyed-in-the-wool supporter of the Democrats. Because I listened to the entire thing. But she's willing to listen. She's willing to admit that there are some major holes in the Democrat Party, and a good portion of that sources to corruption. Good for her.
Well, go ahead, Clint, because I've been talking over you. Sorry.
No. Look, I still remember Donna Brazile when she was defending some of the Clinton stuff, and so I don't know what her motivation is for coming out with this stuff now.
Yeah.
Other than to sell books and maybe get into politics herself, I don't know.
Maybe, and unseat the Clintons.
What's that?
And unseat the Clintons. By the way, one of the funniest tweets I saw was from a fake Hillary Twitter, and it was just before the book came out, and it said, "It really saddened me at the untimely death coming for Donna Brazile, a dear and close friend of mine. She will be missed."
Oh, my God, that is hilarious.
Now that's some funny shite. I like that a lot. Damn, I'm going to have to do that on Twitter.
I apologize. It was untimely suicide. That was what it was. Look.
While in the midst of a car crash.
We could talk about her motivation, and obviously she has personal gain in this, so she wouldn't have written the book, right? Somebody wouldn't have got to her and said, you can make a ton of money. All you have to do is politically assassinate the Clintons and most of the people in the DNC. But, I mean, you look at it from her point of view, right, Clint? If she is running for office, look, Bernie can't do it again. But if she starts to get those Bernie supporters under her now by going against the Clintons and going against the DNC, who literally screwed Bernie out of the nomination, then it's a wise move. The other side, and she's maybe cutting off her nose to spite her face a little bit, it's exposing the chaos and insanity of the bot system of the DNC and the RNC to a point.
It is, but that's kind of my point, right? Like the Democratic Party cannot move on as long as the Clintons are still hanging around, and she's still doing talk shows, and she's still doing major speeches, and she's hinting at another run in 2020. And the Democratic Party has to stop that run. They have to stop the Clintons from having so much influence if they want to move on as a party. So that's why I question this motivation. She was a huge party person. We know she's a huge Democratic Party person. So if the party knows that they have to get the Clintons out of the way to be able to move on and hope to be able to defeat Trump, how do you do it? This is how you do it.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. And look, I mean, like BZ said and you just said, she's a party girl. She's absolutely dyed in the wool. That doesn't mean that look, she could have went into this last election going, hey, you know what? Maybe things aren't as bad as I thought they were. And then all of a sudden she's the chair of the DNC and goes, holy shit, it's worse. And even if we don't agree with her politically,
I think this is a calculated move by the Democratic Party.
Okay.
I think it's a calculated move to get the Clintons out of the way so that they can run somebody else in 2020 and start messaging as a party and taking control of the party again, because nobody can take control of the party as long as the Clintons are still hanging around.
I agree.
And I think this is a move. I think this is a move by the party to once and for all cut the Clintons out of it and to move on as a party, whatever direction that's going to take.
So basically,
that's what I believe. I think it's 100% calculated.
That's interesting. So basically what you're saying is Donna Brazile has taken one for the team.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I think publicly she's going to be excoriated by the Democratic Party because they have to seem like this isn't. They have to seem like this wasn't their idea. I think the Clintons and all of their supporters are absolutely going to be furious. But the party is not going to go after Donna Brazile. The Clintons might, their supporters might, but I don't think the party is, because I think the party wants the Clintons out of the way, because I think the party understands that they have to have the Clintons politically out of the way.
Absolutely. I think you're 100% right about that.
That's my thoughts on it. So that was my first thought when I saw this story come out. Particularly, she's going on Fox News, who she hates. So the Democrats are using that to their advantage because who's going to push that story out?
Well, and
it's going to be them. And who's watching Fox News now? It's those swing votes. It's those people that voted for Trump.
Well,
so now if this story comes out and the people that voted for Trump are like, see, I knew that the Democrats were crooked. That's why I voted for Trump. And now they get the Clintons out of the way and they can continue their attacks on Trump. They can rebrand and swing those voters back their way. 100% this is calculated.
I agree. But she's also, what's funny is they're taking a page out of Trump's book. She took a swipe at CNN, which is usually home for the Democrats, right? And she takes this major swipe at Jake Tapper of all people.
Yep.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They don't need their base. They don't need the diehards. They already have them. So they can swipe at CNN. They can swipe at those diehards all they want because they're going to vote for them anyways, but it's going to pull those people away from the ones that Trump pulled. And that's what they have to do. So, of course, they're going to swipe at them. Look, I'm not buying into it. I'm not like, oh, yeah, they're becoming more reasonable. Bullshit. They're calculating, and I think they know exactly what the hell they're doing.
I agree to a point, but I also think that you're seeing them start to use a little bit of Trump tactics in this, right? You can now, when CNS does something like this in the future, she can turn around and say, hey, look at my book. I told you before, they're taking these uncalculated swipes, these swipes they don't need to get. They can start using fake news. I'm just saying some of this has been very Trump-esque in the sense of getting the media to do your bidding, reaching out to the people that you want to reach.
Course.
But
that's my point because
right.
It works, right?
Right. No,
so
that's what I'm saying.
These Trump tactics to pull, to pull the voters that they need back. Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to make one final point if I could.
Okay.
Demographically, the left, if anybody thinks that the left from now until the end of time are going to move a little bit towards the center, now
absolutely are going to.
They're going to go to the moderate. No, they're not. They're not going to. They don't have to. They know what the demography is now. That's why they love illegals. Demography is to the point now in the United States of America where they know that illegals are going to vote for free cheese all the time.
But
they
here's
don't
the thing.
have to court the Midwest anymore. As far as they're concerned, the Midwest can go fuck itself.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Illegals may not be able to vote in national elections by the time...
Over 1 million, probably close to 2 million illegals, and it was admitted by the Daily Caller, had an excellent article on this, that up to 2 million illegals voted illegally for Clinton in the last election.
Yeah, but even with those 2 million votes...
But they still lost.
They still lost.
Right. So what you need...
They still lost in the Electoral College, and what do they want to kill right now? The Electoral College.
Yes, but you also have to look at the fact that they already have those illegal votes. They need to move a little more center in order to get those swing votes. Now, it may not happen, and they may not be smart enough to do it.
Hang on. I think they're going to pretend to move to the middle,
right?
By doing what they're doing right now with Donna Brazile. In reality, as soon as they get power again, they're going to slam right back to the
oh, absolutely,
okay.
And that's what I'm talking about.
But the
I don't think that they're going to
philosophy...
step away from their values. They're not going to step away from their ridiculous values, but they will sell it as they are in order to pick up some people who may be socially liberal but want to keep their guns. So maybe they'll lean that. They're going to do what they can to try to chip away at that center vote and get as many of those over as they can. It may be it's a lie, but that doesn't mean that it's beneath them by any stretch of the imagination. It's completely not beneath them to lie. So I think that's their approach. And, as the common observer...
and they're getting help.
Well, yeah. And they will continue to
They're
get help.
getting
We're
help.
up against a break.
They're-
We're up against the end.
Yeah, they're getting help. They're getting help from the GOP. Thanks.
Yeah.
We're up against the end of the show.
We are up against the end of the show. Yeah, the
we're
GOP is
up
helping to
against
hose us, too. Hey, Clint, sir, thank you very much for joining us.
Appreciate it, Clint. Thank you, sir.
You go back to your Hooker Rock convention, and we will see you next week.
How many piles of rocks could he have assembled in all this time, in an
Good
hour
night,
and
buddy.
a half on the radio?
Oh, there's a pile.
Oh, a ton.
Oh, yeah. No, the pile is enormous. Folks, that's it here for the Sackheads Radio Show. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. Make sure you check out the Berserk Bobcat Saloon with the bloviating Zeppelin. Before him, you will absolutely have Jersey Joe.
Jersey Joe.
Jersey Slow.
Jersey Joe.
And, of course, all the other great shows. I got to cut it short because we got to go. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere else. Twitter as well. SHRmedia.com is the website. We will see you next week.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
News. News.
Radio.
News. News.
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.